Hi, and welcome back to the Plant-Based Quick Cooking Show. I'm Karen, coming to you every week from the Center for Plant-Based Living right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Thanks for joining me again. Okay, this week we're going to be making scallops. King oyster mushroom scallops, right? Oh, they're so delicious. Whether you're doing a no fish Friday like in Lent or any night of the week, they're kind of fancy, but they don't take a lot of time. So let's get to it. First, I'm going to take some boiling hot water, so that'll come up to a boil really quickly, and then we're going to take it down to a simmer. And I'm going to infuse some flavors, some nice seaweedy flavors, so that our king oyster mushrooms, once we cut these up and they kind of look like scallops, then they can, then the broth is going to infuse into our mushrooms, really giving it kind of that fish taste, right? Okay, so right here I have a little bit of garlic that I've already cut up, and I'm letting that sit. And this is some frozen ginger. It's frozen because, I usually buy more than I need at any one time, so you can just freeze your ginger and it lasts so long. And just give it a few minutes and you can somewhat easily get through it. Make sure you have a sharp knife. Okay, that's probably good enough. Now right here I have a little bit of very hot water, so I'm going to take some yellow or light miso and let that dissolve in there, and then I'll add that to the broth. Okay, let that dissolve. That's ready. And it's not seaweed without seaweed, right? Or it's not a fish taste without seaweed. And so I just have one sheet of, this is organic Pacific nori, just nori. You can get it at any grocery store. Just go to the international aisle where they're gonna have everything you need for sushi, and grab one of these bags. Many companies make them. And it's dried, so it lasts forever. And just tear it up in your hands and let that beautiful flavor dissolve and become nice and, salty, seaweedy, fishy. Stir that around a little bit. You can see we're very, very hot. I'm going to put in our ginger now. And our garlic, because that was cut about 10 minutes ago. Now I'm also going to add coconut aminos. You can add tamari, shoyu, Bragg's, low sodium soy sauce, whatever. But I've been on a coconut aminos kick for quite some time, and I've got plenty of bottles in storage. So that's what I'm using. All right, we are at a slight boil, but I don't want this to be too hot for our miso. I don't want those prebiotic properties to go away, and that will happen with a very, very high heat. So I'm gonna pull this down to a simmer and add in, oh my goodness. Ooh, smells great. Okay, now you just take your mushrooms one at a time, cut off that end that you don't want, cut off that very, you can use this if you want. I'm not going to, maybe I will, but you don't have to. Now, measure about 3/4 of an inch or so and cut. 3/4 of an inch and cut. If it's an inch, doesn't matter, just eye it. Whatever you think a shallot looks like, or however thick you think a shallot is. And then, to further infuse the beautifulness that's going on here, take your knife carefully and do just like a tic-tac-toe slices in there. You can do it on both sides if you want, or you can just do an X if you want, or you can do a star. but we want those flavors to really infuse into your king oyster mushrooms. And then once I get all of these in here, they are going to simmer for about 20 minutes or so. And then we're going to take them out, and then we're going to saute them. So I'll see you in a few minutes when we're ready to take them out, and we'll keep going with our recipe. See you soon. Okay, we've been cooking for about 20 minutes now, and the mushrooms have shrunk in size considerably. Don't be alarmed. And of course, the shop smells amazing. All right, so what I'm going to do first is just transfer everything from the skillet to this bowl. Okay, and get all your little seaweed bits in there. Then return the skillet to the heat. Bring the heat up, and now we are going to saute our mushrooms just so they get kind of that crispy edge and they firm up even more, because you know when mushrooms let go of all their juices, of all their moisture, they shrink in size and they become very dense, like a meat, like almost like a meat. Sizzle, yeah. So now that our broth also has diminished or evaporated, reduced, that's the word I'm looking for, reduced in volume, it also makes a nice sauce. So what we're going to do here is, if the mushrooms start to stick a little bit, we'll deglaze like we usually do with our broth. And then because it's so concentrated now and so yummy, we're also going to just use that in our dish. So this doesn't take really a whole lot of time. You're just going to want to watch them, and once they start to almost caramelize a little bit on the ends, around the surface, then you know you're finished, because really they're already cooked. And it's not like you need to cook them anyway if you like raw mushrooms. Yeah, okay. So I'll end up doing a couple of batches. And we're just going to flip them. Yep, they're already starting to caramelize on the ends. It's really quick. I have my heat all the way up. Woo, hot. Oh yeah, they're so pretty. So I served this one year here at the shop at the Center for Plant-Based Living. We had this big Christmas party, a big Christmas dinner. We had a table that sat 20 people, and it was myself and one of my assistants here. I should have had more. And I made these for everyone because they're kind of fancy, or they look kind of fancy, but they're a pretty simple meal. Not too expensive, really not expensive at all. Oh, the oyster mushrooms. So, or they're king oyster mushrooms. I got them at my local international grocery store. So that's where you're going to probably find those types of mushrooms. I don't find them in the traditional grocery store. So, but if I go to any of the international grocery stores here in town, here in St. Louis, they always have them. They're just kind of a staple there. You might be able to find them also at like at a farmer's market, but do check around, because they're fun to cook. I remember I used to eat scallops before I went plant-based, and that's what these little guys look like, and the texture is just so spot on. It's, you know, I hate to say, I don't want to say rubbery, but it's just kind of that almost al dente, little rubbery texture. And then of course the flavor from the miso and the nori, so that's seaweed, right? It's just so great. So I'm going to add just a little bit of our broth. And now the color really takes hold. And I say they're ready. I have some purple potatoes here that I cooked up. They're my favorite. You can get potatoes go for, or I should say, if you can get the purple potatoes, go for them. Super nutrient dense, antioxidant packed. I have a little bit of sauteed kale in here with some greens. I'm sorry, with some garlic. You could do noodles, you could do a grain, whatever. You could just have these plain. Okay. This is the fun part. And just take these little guys out of here. I'll show them to you. There's just some random nori that's kind of hanging out. It's delicious too. And then what you can do is also grab a little bit more of your broth and pour that in there. And that is an amazing meal. All right, I hope you love this just as much as I do. Enjoy No Fish Friday or any day of the week. Thanks for joining me this week. I'll see you next week on another episode. Take good care.